All right, what's up? This is Killian, and as promised, I'm gonna make you a video here about the weekly and monthly review sheet, as well as it's an integrated dashboard with a performance tracking and sales tracking. And usually we just give these away to our clients, but I'm gonna make an exception, of course, and requested it, so I'm gonna send it to you. But yeah, pay attention to how to use it and then it will make sense for you. I've been using this myself for many years now. Here's mine, you've seen down here. For every year, I make a new one with every month here. Now with April ahead, I plan out April, and you can see how what are the things I'm using, for example. And then here's my weekly review, and then here's my monthly review. There's also things you can use for identity and other things, but let's get into it. So what you're going to do first is you just come here and you click on today's date. So for example, here, what's today? Now we are in 25. You just come here and click on today's date here, and then it will automatically everything down here. You do this for the month ahead. It will autofill everything automatically. And then here, white is always the day we're in right now, and then gray is everything is grayed out, the rest. Now let's get started. Here's something that's hidden. You can use it if you want to, where you can track your sleep. Here it shows the examples. You just have to come in here and then every day rate it as you want it. And then you can see a nice overview and it has color coding already in it, or you just select it here. You can do that same with wake up time. If you set here, this is like, we use always divisions. Good, better, great. Like let's say you want to go to bed between 10:30 and 10 or 11 and 10 and something, that would be great. And then, if you, for example, are 11:15, it's red, and you see, so it's basically more green the closer you are to your goal. So you can set this around and then play around with it. Or if it's not important, you can also just hide that. And then what we like to do is like no phone in the morning. We have the main habits in here that are good for great performance and productivity in your day. So no phone in the morning, or you can also use other habits. And you can say, hey, the first 10 minutes, the first 20 minutes, the first hour in the morning, I didn't use the phone. And then you have like the level one, two, three, and then you can just put that in here. Or you can just hide all the stuff that you don't need. And apart from that, start work time, that's interesting. What's the one big outcome to achieve for today? What's the one big outcome achieved? You can then tick it off at the end of the day. And deep work tracking, how many hours did you work undistracted? What activity did you complete here? This would be when you say, for example, value activities like sales calls or outreaches. Otherwise, you just also come here and you're gonna go and just hide them and make it very simple for you. That's what we found. The more you hide them, the more simple you keep it, the better. Hours worked in total, and therefore from them on the business, and then you get a nice percentage of that. I'm gonna hide that for you as well. You can all include that all later on. End work time, shutdown time. This is usually when you go to bed and stop, or like rather put the screens away and get ready for going to bed. And then putting phone away and how to feel about your day. These are just, if you just look at this in one screen, if you do all these things, then you have a super dialed in day. And you can then add more stuff or make it simpler even more. The main thing, of course, this is all optional. You don't even have to track it. You can also do like way less, just literally say, hey, what's the one big thing for today? Did I get it done? And then, maybe how do I feel about my day? Or super simple. And then this is what I do every week. So basically, after each day, I journal here before I shut off my day or in the evening or even in the morning for the previous day, it doesn't matter. What were wins? What did I do well? What are lessons to improve? And what am I grateful for? That's pretty cool because that way you always celebrate things that have gone well, always have wins every day. And then anything you learned or things to improve, and then what you're grateful for. This sets you up for a super nice day. And then the cool thing is, I always do it like this, that here I make sure I have an entire week scheduled, and sometimes I just shift it around. You could, so for example, you could also make this super simple now. You just remove this here, move this up to Monday, and boom, boom, boom. And then you just take this and make like boom, boom, boom. And now for the month ahead, it always starts Monday to Sunday. See, another week. And what you can do now is after you had, the week is over, and then maybe on Saturday, Sunday, you do a weekly review. You just can copy all these wins and blast them into here. And then you have a nice, or you just, rework them, and then you have a nice list of your weekly wins and you just quickly review them, and then you do the same with your lessons and what was good, and then you directly, super nicely from here, can brainstorm. Okay, these were all the wins. That's what's been going well. Here's what I learned. Here's what needs to get better. And here's then the focus for next week. Top three main things to execute or finish high level that moves the business forward, for example, right? And then you have every week, super nice overview. And then here it comes. And then every month, what you're going to do, you're just going to sit here and say, let's say I'm going to review April, or let's say just January, whatever, doesn't matter. And what I do is I just come here. What were the top wins for every week? Either I copy it or I just go over it and I blast it in here. Then I have a really nice highlighted overview, super fast monthly review, and I can do the same thing then with the lessons. So it kind of intersects into each other, right? Daily basis leads into weeks, weeks leads into month, and then I have super nice reviews. You can do that even on a quarterly basis. Then you can review your quarters like this. What were the massive wins, generated? And then you just talk about, oh, even add some revenue numbers and so on. We come to that in a second because we have separate tracking tabs here. And then from there, you review your months. If you want to learn more about weekly and monthly review, I have complete checklists and all of that stuff as well. So you can just let me know. I can tell you more how I do those with live reviews and all of these things as well. And apart from that, you then go in here and you have your wins and outputs. And then from there, the challenges again on a monthly basis. And then from there, you plan the next month. What's the one big thing? What are main objectives and key results? Any challenges? What I anticipate? How to tackle them? And maybe give yourself a reward, do a nice trip at the end of the month as a reward for achieving goals. That's super simple, super easy to do every month to plan and review your, not only your performance, but also your month. And that's going to be, make sure you're going to be dialed in. All right. And the final thing I want to give you as well as a little nice add-on is one tab of our sales and lead gen sheet. And this is basically very similar. As you can see here, the days of the week. And then here on the right, we have an outreach channel. So this would be LinkedIn. You can add additional challenges, for example, cold email or other channels here as well, simply by grouping them. And then you can have a funnel from left to right, how much time spent, connection count, connection request sent, and your who tracks means you can have a VA or someone track these numbers here. And then from there, you can set them the daily goals, monthly goals, and then this is a sum that adds up everything that's been tracked here. And then, it's quite simple. So let's say I'm coming here and a connection request sent. Oops, here, boom, 40, boom. Because when I have a goal of 40 and then, it gets more green the closer I am to the goal. If I have a zero here, it's red. Pretty cool, pretty nice, because that way I have a nice gamification of it. And that way, it leads all the way from sending connection requests to making, depending on the strategy used for outreach, Loom strategy, video strategy. We have a lot of strategies for this. To calls offered, follow-up sent, and then total calls offered, discovery booked, strategy taken, all the way to closed contracted revenue, cash collected. Super nice. And then the cool thing here is we have here a connection to this. So that's pretty cool. So you have like one calls taken here, and bam, it sums it up all here. Same thing when you have new closes, boom, boom, tracks all your new clients, new contracted revenue. Let's say retainer, 5K or whatever you have. Boom. It all sums it up, and then cash collected if it's payment plans, whatever. And that way you can then add existing revenue to it and make it very simple for yourself to hit your monthly goals. And this is what we always do with our clients, to make sure they're super dialed in and are happy with the progress. And then you have a nice tracking here. It's very simple every month of your finances and performance in line with your KPIs here, right? So yeah, of course, there's more that gets into it to make this work for you, but this is just a little add-on I wanted to give you as a gift here on top. And maybe it will be helping you in your sales and lead gen and your outreach. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let me know if you have any questions on this, how to adapt it, how to use that, all of that good stuff. And then looking forward to hearing how this is helping you and how you're going to keep crushing it. All right. Have a good week, man.